One of the cool things about being a Star Wars fan is occasionally there is something like off brand that happens that gets approved by Lucasfilm. And that's just a lot of fun. This is obviously before Disney bought it. Like if you go back to like the end of the 2000s, we get to see like all the Family Guy movies, right? They did the Family Guy original trilogy parodies. Those were great. I've got all those on Blu-ray. They're so much fun to watch. You have Star Detours, which was an Adult Swim show that was done by the guys behind Robot Chicken, who had worked a lot with Star Wars by parodying a lot of that back in the day. And they produced like, I think 36 episodes of the animated show that went nowhere because Lucas sold to Disney and Disney shelved it. Although they did recently renew the trademark, so that might be coming to Disney Plus or Hulu somewhere in the future. But we also got to see Fanboys, which was a script that was written back in 2006 and it made it on the blacklist. It ended up being produced for about $3.9 million. And unfortunately, not a lot of people saw the movie because it only grossed about 960,000 in theaters and then was kind of just summarily dumped to home video, which is ultimately where I saw it because the movie didn't get a wide release. I think had it been a wide release around the time that there had been a new Star Wars movie or something along those lines, it would have probably done a lot better. But that being said, if you've seen the movie, you know that it's an absolute labor of love, and Kyle Newman did a good job directing it. It also starred Kristen Bell before she blew up. It starred Jay Baruchel, Dan Fogelman. It's got a really solid cast of performers, and it's just a fun movie. So why am I talking about Fanboys? Well, apparently Fanboys 2 is now being talked about. And this is fascinating given the concept and where the concept originated. And that actually popped up a couple days ago on this parody page called Discussing Movies, which is a take on discussing film, where they said, rumor, Adam F. Goldberg may be developing a sequel to 2009's Fanboys. The sequel would follow the gang as they attempt to steal the forbidden Snyder cut of Justice League from Warner Brothers, and he tagged Adam in it. Now, this is again something that flew under the radar because it's not from a real channel. It's not from a real channel at all. It's actually just from a parody account, but it caught the attention of Adam F. Goldberg, who, if you don't know, is the creator and the previous showrunner of the show The Goldbergs on ABC, which is an absolutely hysterical show. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. They're on like their 7th or 8th season now, and it's worth the watch. But he actually responded to it saying, if Ernie Klein is up for it, I sure am. Now, what you need to know about that is originally Adam F. Goldberg and Cal Newman, who was the director, they ended up working on the script together in 2006. Eventually, when it was headed towards production, Ernie Klein took over and ended up reworking the screenplay. Ernie Klein also wrote Ready Player One and Armada, and if you saw Ready Player One or you read the book, you know that this dude is like completely bathed in pop culture, and Fanboys is absolutely bathed in pop culture, especially Rush. He's a big Rush fan. I think anyone from the 80s is a big Rush fan. But that's the crazy thing, is they're actually interested in wanting to make the movie. I mean that. Like, this parody tweet actually prompted Adam F. Goldberg to set up a meeting with Kyle Newman to discuss the concept of a group of people who are now going to be much older than they were when Fanboys came out, because it was set in 1999 leading up to the release of The Phantom Menace. And now they're going to sneak into Warner Brothers in order to steal the Snyder cut. Imagine if that movie gets made. I mean, for one, Warner's should absolutely do it. I mean, 100% Warner Brothers should absolutely get behind this movie for a couple of reasons. One, if the Snyder Cut doesn't exist in the way that people want it to exist, and it's just pure myth and legend at this point, even though it's absolutely being fueled by Zack Snyder almost daily, it feels like, because there's always articles popping up because he's always dropping information over there on Vero. But just imagine, it would be Warner Brothers acknowledging the tongue-in-cheek nature of the situation. It would be having a bunch of nerds sneak into Warner Brothers in order to steal the Snyder Cut, in order to watch it. But at the same time, it's also a big F you to Joss Whedon. but it's a funny FU to Joss Whedon, which is one of the reasons why I actually really kind of support this idea. Not to say that I want to say FU to Joss Whedon, but I do want to see the Snyder Cut, and I think it'd be really, really, really funny to find a way to weave it into the current DCEU lineup and kind of have, like, you know, cameo appearances by Ben Affleck and Ezra Miller and Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa and everyone. Like, get everyone on board, even get Zack Snyder to come on in and have a bit of fun with it. I think that would go a long way to kind of establishing like a new rapport with the audience. Very similar to how at the time, like I pointed out at the beginning of this video, how Lucas, you know, hadn't done anything with Star Wars really from 2005 to 2008. We had Revenge of the Sith, and then we had the Clone Wars show. And then after that, there wasn't much that was going on outside of the Clone Wars show, but we had the Family Guy stuff and we had Fanboys, and it kind of felt like he was just loosening the stick from his ass a little bit, right? That we were getting a bit more humor with it, that we were able to enjoy Star Wars from a parody perspective. And if they were able to tackle this particular subject from that particular mindset, I think it could do wonders for the fan studio relationship, because it shows you that the studio is not all and with the new woman that's in charge of Warner Brothers as a whole, this would go a long way to establish a good rapport with the audience that I think to an extent are kind of like, I don't want to say an open revolt, but there is a lot of distrust with the DCEU. And this is one that I think would ultimately go a long way to help the DCEU with the fans. I'm not going to say it's going to like solve everything or fix everything, or even if the movie's going to be any good. There are people out there that didn't like Fanboys or whatever. I thought it was charming. I thought it was cute. But I think it'd be really funny to see everything kind of come back to this particular fan debate, this particular fan situation. Now, the other side of that, there's going to be a lot of people who would be against a movie like this because in their minds, it would be legitimizing the Snyder Cut people. But the Snyder Cut people have done quite a bit in order to really bring awareness. They've flown banners over Comic-Con. They've had flyers. They've taken out full page bus stops before. They've gone and protested in front of Warner Brothers in DCEU costume attire. They've done charity drives for suicide prevention. They've done a lot of good things with their time in order to bring awareness to this issue. And I think this would be a really funny angle to also take in the movie. And I think having Ernie Klein and having Adam F. Goldberg on board, who are both completely pop culture junkies and they're very funny people in general, to dive into this story would be pretty effing cool. I would rush out to go see this movie. I would have so much fun watching this movie because I know where it would be coming from. As a person who's been a supporter of the Snyder Cut now for a couple of years, as a person who very much supports Zack Snyder's vision and wants to see that continue, I would love to see this particular thing in its glory. And what I love is even on this tweet right here, underneath it, right, is Patrick Reed. You can see here Patrick Reed Johnson. Right now, this is the writer director of some late 80s, early 90s movies like Spaced Invaders, which is one of my favorites as a kid, and then also Angus, which is a great coming of age movie set that was out, I think, in 1995. And so he's laughing at it too. A lot of people are laughing at it because I think it'd be funny. And the fact that Adam F. Goldberg is interested in doing it, to me, just speaks volumes. This guy has got some clout. He's got some clout. He could make some things work. So in the meantime, my head's kind of swimming thinking about all the possibilities of what it could mean. And I do want to hear what you guys have to say about this. Is this something you'd be interested in? If you are a Snyder Cut supporter, would you think this is like a mockery, or would you actually watch this? I don't think it's a mockery. I think it'd be tongue in cheek, but I think it would be done from a place of love, to be honest with you. Just like Fanboys was done from a place of love. Anyway, let me know your thoughts, your opinions, or write them in the comment section. If you guys made it this far, do me a solid, hit that like, smash it, beat it like a drum, and everything else. I'll talk to you all later. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.